By the end of this video, I'm going to convince you that we'll be getting the Origin staffs returning as wonder weapons in DLC 4 Revelations. Alright, scrap that, I'm not even going to convince you, I'm going to give you 100% evidence that we definitely will be seeing the staffs in DLC 4. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to be looking through previous storyline, looking at Origins, as well as looking in Black Ops 3 Zombies, and then finalising it all with a little clip which should definitely convince you if you weren't already convinced by that point. Now, looking at the staffs, you may or may not remember that there's actually quite a big backstory to the staffs, and the ones that we actually use on Origins are not the original staffs. They're actually replica versions, and we'll have Dr. Maxis explain now in some radios what exactly that means and why exactly we have replicas.
The ancient texts describe an artifact known to them as the Amplification Rod. It is my firm belief this item is instrumental to harnessing the energy of the elemental stones. Unfortunately, neither the rod nor the stones have been recovered from any of our dig sites. I fear we must push forward regardless. As such, I have drawn up plans to create replica rods based on the descriptions from the main chamber. I will instruct Richtofen to begin fabrication immediately.
As Maxis describes in that radio, the staffs are actually known as the Amplification Rod. That is the ancient artifact's actual name, and it's his firm belief that it's the instrument to harness the energy of the elemental stones. Unfortunately, neither the rod nor the stones have been recovered from any of the dig sites at the excavation site. So in order to push forwards, Maxis drew up plans to create replica rods based on the descriptions from the main chamber. And if you're in the spawn room and you look over onto this wall, you will see those exact plans drawn up by Maxis. This diagram has a ton of information on it. It's labeled as the Amplification Rod, and at the top of the rod we have the crystal focusing and surge channeling area, which is where the elemental stones go into. We have the amplification steam coupler there, as well as the sinking handle, and then the bottom, at the moment Maxis didn't know that it had a function, so he said it was an unknown function, but now we know that it's actually something to use to revive your teammates. Now, within the main chamber there is a ancient text that speaks of 4 elemental crystals that powers the staffs, and we can see a diagram image of those 4 crystals there. Now, interestingly, above the stone images we have some text that says depositional environment, which is where we'll find these stones. It mentions mud, and the second word I can't make out, but we have a diagram to the left of where the crystals could be found, and he says that those are black grains. Now, with all of this information in mind, what does it really tell us? How does this make any sense or prove that we will see these again in DLC 4? Well, it's the fact that Maxis created replica copies of these staffs. These staffs originally existed a long time ago, and in Origins we simply create the replica versions of those. Now, that means there's a history of the original staffs that we do not know that existed before the replicas, and as we know with Jason Blundell in the storyline, he loves to tie loose ends, and this would be a brilliant end to tie. Now, looking through Richtofen's quotes, I looked to see if we could find any evidence to support the fact that we could see them again, and any underlying knowledge that he knows of the staffs, and there's only one real quote that sticks out to me, which is when you pick up the staff of fire.
Perhaps only I know just how powerful the staffs really are.
There's also 2 quotes that Richtofen says whenever you pick up a staff part.
Maxis was right. He knew the true power of the staffs. These staffs were crafted by Maxis, Samantha. They are not evidence of your mythical realm.
And with that second quote, he references one of Maxis's broken staff pieces, so that means one of the staffs that Maxis created himself, not the actual originals. Now, at this point, Richtofen wasn't fully involved with the entire thing that we're involved now with Black Ops 3. He didn't have the chronorium to his disposal at this point, because it wasn't until after we opened the rift that he found himself on this crazy journey. But his quote still referenced that he knew more than he actually led us to believe all the way back then. then. So what evidence do we have of the original staffs? Well, if we look at the premise picture that we can make within Origins, we see 4 guys stood on the mound with light shining down upon them, each wielding a elemental staff. Through various cipher messages in Black Ops 3 Zombies, we know that this image takes place after the Great Battle, where they defeated the creatures from beyond and the Dead Eaters. They disappeared after they claimed victory, never to be heard from again. Now, these 4 warriors quite clearly are another version of our Origins characters, and it's something that we've not actually seen yet within gameplay itself. And if premise is going to fail and we've only got one more map left, then we're definitely going to see some sort of scenario where we're going to be in the Great Battle as these characters, or should I say these versions of our characters. It makes so much sense. On another cipher from Gorod Krovi, we get a message from Pablo Marinas, who has a vision of him as a knight, and he is about to be doomed and consumed by the tentacles of a Magua when suddenly 4 knights decimate it with magical elemental staves, saving him from certain death. He mentions the creepy thing as the sigils on the tunics resemble the ones noticed on stones here at Der Eisendrache, which is what our premise characters are wearing. So essentially, breaking this down, we definitely have to see something within DLC 4 where we play as these characters in the Great Battle. It has to be. And this shows us that the staffs actually have a history that goes far back beyond just the replicas of it being something recent. It has a really vast ancient history, and we don't have an explanation as to why these versions of our characters even possess these elemental staves in the first place. You can even see a visual image of this Great Battle taking place within the Shadows of Evil Pack-a-Punch. We can see our 4 characters, and we can also see the Der Eisendrache King as well within the battle as a knight. There's been so many references to this, and there has to be something culminating now within Revelations where we'll end up in that scenario. Perhaps we have to travel back in time during the Easter egg in order to change the events by changing the outcome of the war, or changing what the message in Shadows of Evil said, which said even though they paved the way, premise will fail. What if we have to go back in time and stop that actual event from ever failing? Because it doesn't seem like it does, but there obviously must have been something, because the evil creatures that were once banished by our premise characters of course return. Looking at the evidence so far, we have the replica versions of these staffs from Origins. We know there is a huge backstory which has not been explained yet, and it is quite important for that to be explained. We have references to the elemental staves in premise from the image we got in Origins, as well as seeing the mural in Shadows of Evil, and as well as getting messages from Pablo Marinas and Gorod Krovi. But if at this point you still aren't convinced, then let me have one final clip which should convince you.
It's a good one.
Okay.
Will the Origin staffs ever return?
Wow.
Because personally,
Yeah.
I'd like to see them.
Will we ever see them again? I think we will see them again.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
Yeah.
That's right, my friends. Jason Blundell just said himself that we can expect to see the elemental staffs making a return in Black Ops 3 Zombies. And as there's only one final DLC left where the story is going to come to an end, unfortunately, this would be the perfect time for them to be reintroduced, have a new story involved, and of course us to use the original versions. Now, when the staffs get their upgrades, the Staff of Lightning is named after Kimat, the dog of the Tinguan god Cataclan, which is really interesting. The Staff of Fire is named after the Japanese god of fire Kagutsuchi. We have the Staff of Ice, which is named after Yule, a Norse god commonly associated with winter, and the Staff of Wind named after Boreas, the Greek god of the north wind. And that unknown function that Maxis was talking about is actually named after Sekhmet, the Egyptian warrior goddess of healing. With all those incredible references to ancient gods, wouldn't it be amazing if these original versions of the staffs actually possessed different names and different effects altogether? Let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section, because as you remember, these are just replica versions of the originals using the elemental stones. The original rods and elemental stones could possess even crazier effects than the staffs in Origins possessed, and that is a very exciting idea. Let me know what you think about all of this down below in the comment section. It is pretty much confirmed we're going to be getting the staffs within DLC 4 Revelations, which is going to be extremely exciting. I cannot wait to get back into the flow of things with the staffs, especially with the upgraded Staff of Wind. That was my absolute favourite. Let me know what your favourite was from Origins in the comment section. Drop the video a like rating if you're convinced and hyped about this, and I will bring you guys the full interview of Jason very, very soon. I will stop teasing you guys. You can expect it very, very soon. But thank you for watching. Subscribe for more DLC 4 zombies, and I'll catch you in another one very, very soon.